All right, calling to order the March meeting of the Faculty Advisory Committee, March 2023. Welcome all. Let's begin. Begin with approval of the February 2023 minutes. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
That's David moved. Second? Any seconds? Thank you, Matthew. And Maribeth? Either one. All right, any modifications before we vote? Oh, I think I had a question for Western, actually. Oh, goodness. Let me click on it. Okay. So, Ritua, I think we need to reverse Ritua and Rob's information. Rob is listed as an alternate from Western, and Ritua is listed, I think, as the member. That's correct, right?
That's
Okay.
what I have.
Yeah. So if we could swap those two, Ritua is the alternate.
Oh, two is the alternate. And
Yes.
Rob is the representative?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Thanks. All right. So with that correction, all in favor of approving the minutes? Great. Are there any opposed? And Ritu has abstained. She wasn't there for this one. Okay. On to approval of the agenda. Motion?
I'll move.
Okay. Second? All right. All in favor?
Yeah.
Hey. Okay. So let's go straight into, thank you, approvals of the chair and vice chair. I feel like I have very little to say in terms of meetings this month. So we had an ASA meeting this morning. We have a new program at Southern, health and wellness coaching, and as well as an intermediate administrator postmaster's certificate at Southern for the purpose of getting folks into the workforce before they finish a dissertation, right during that process. And there was a name change at Western. Health Promotion Studies has become public health. It's accredited as a public health program, and it's just a little bit more visible now that folks appreciate what public health is these days. The policy on centers and institutes that was under revision from the last meeting has been approved by ASA as of this meeting. And there were some Connecticut state policy rescissions, and they are understood as simply things that were outdated and no longer in effect. So it's just a cleanup of the policy. There will be new policies presented at some point soon, but these are supposed to be just simply sort of defunct, outdated policies that are being cleaned out of the policy manual. That is mostly it. There were some tenure recommendations at Western. And that's it. In addition, two things. One is that last meeting, Provost Kathuria sort of requested that we give some feedback on the new program review policy that is being developed this semester. And he'd asked for us to sort of get back to him in a 2-week window, but he hasn't actually forwarded it yet. And it's, it's his request. So, whenever he's able to forward it, we'll, be able to get back to him. So that just hasn't been provided yet. We'll provide it when we can. It also reached out because I think later on in the agenda, we're going to want to talk about these consortial degrees that keep popping up in conversation in different forums, and none of us has very good information about exactly what that is. I did the conversation just kept coming up, so I reached out to him just a couple days ago. He did respond and say that this week is just way too busy for him. He's visiting campuses and he's not able to respond to it now. Hopefully we'll be able to get some sort of word from him on exactly what's happening at some point soon. So he has responded, he just hasn't given us a description yet. So that's it for me at the moment. David?
So the discussion of the consortium is which item on the agenda, Kalina?
Sorry, I'm on mute. Number 9.
Okay, so that's fine. So I'm not going to say anything about that now. The Finance and Infrastructure Committee will be meeting only this Wednesday. So I'll have a report for the next meeting. Did we discuss the amendment to the agenda at the board, which happened last board meeting, Lena?
I don't know that we have.
Okay, so I think we should draw attention of the. I'll sort of summarize it. In the agenda, in the minutes of the December meeting, which was the last meeting of the board before the February meeting, which is the preceding meeting before this meeting of the FAC, there had been a public comment from the president of the 4Cs, Seth Freeman, which had elicited the following. The statement was put in the agenda item listing the public comments, although the topic of the public comments for everybody else was listed, his was not, and the statement was made in red with a yellow background, as I recall, that he had made a fraudulent statement. Both Kalina and I objected to that formulation in the minutes, that the topic of his presentation, which was the problem, Kalina, correct me if I'm wrong, of paychecks over the winter session period, which was a serious matter, and Kalina had comment on it as well. That was exaggeration in terms of characterizing it that way, did not provide the means for people to assess whether that fact was the case, since the comments themselves were not included, and that it was basically uncivil. And I pointed out, we pointed out at the very beginning of the meeting that we wanted to speak on this matter, and I think they got some of their ducks together during the period before the approval of the minutes, which is not the first item there, but a later item after public comments and presentation by the president of the CSCU. And they were willing to remove it, which in fact they have. There is a comment, an email from the system office attorney, which was included in the minutes, and I pointed out that that was not part of the meeting and should have been included in the minutes for the February meeting, but they've left it there in the December meeting. But I think that was a vigilance on our part and some accommodation on the part of the secretary of the board to amend their minutes and to remove the offending statement.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up, David. I forgot. It seems like so long ago now,
Yeah.
but I'm looking at the minutes now, and they're now it went from being sort of not included, and it was, listed as fraudulent, to now there being clear links to written, verbal comments, etc. So it's now in no way hidden. And I will say that I did not realize how many people actually read the minutes of the BOR meetings until that. It was like just getting random comments like fraudulent. So yeah, I'm glad we were able to.
Yeah, and I
have
think
that cleared up.
the point that I made at the end was, we have conflicts. These are disputes and disagreements which persist. And of course, we are just coming out of a fairly long period of conflict over the consolidation of the community colleges. But that said, within the context of public higher education, and I referred back to a campaign we had had in my university quite some time ago when there were some rather emotional disputes that were, in a certain sense, flaming, which is that we should constrain ourselves within the limits of civility, collegiality, and community. Let me call those the 3 C's of debate, and for that matter, dispute in public higher education. We are going to have conflicts. We're going to have disagreements. We're going to have disputes. And I think that it's important to maintain certain parameters so that we can resolve those disputes to the extent that we can in a constructive way. I think that's about all I have to say, actually. The other point was about the consortium, but we're going to discuss that in item 9.
Can I just ask which Board of Regents meeting you were referencing with the minutes for the minute?
February,
February.
which includes the minutes of the December meeting.
Ah,
So
okay,
there was no meeting in January.
okay, all right, thank you.
Brendan,
Brendan?
you're on mute.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not sure if this is connected to this particular issue, but I remember over a period of maybe 18 months surrounding or just after President Cheng's arrival, this sort of what some people have described as civility police that seemed to emerge. And so I don't know if this is an example of that there was essentially this I don't know if you would call it censorship,